Hi, this is Ed from Exotic Blanks, welcoming you once again to a pen turning session. Today we'll be turning a cherry pit pen blank, one of the new pen blanks that we're offering on Exotics. As you can see, we start out with a square pen blank. I did not round it. You could round it on your sander if you wanted to first, but I wanted to find out how much problem it was going to be to try to keep the cherry pits turning into sawdust and not turning into little cherry pits flying all over the place. So right away I started out at about 3,500 RPM, and we're turning off the corners first, as I usually do. As you can see, I'm getting a little deeper and a little deeper, going closer and closer to getting to the bushing. But you can also see that there are no chunks flying out. We're getting everything off in small ribbons, and that's the desired result. So at the moment everything is going fairly swimmingly, and then you start going the opposite direction, going toward the headstock. And here, of course, I've got good support, and I'm continuing to cut off more and more of the blank just to get down to round. Turning this blank turned out to be fairly simple. Some of the things that you want to keep in mind are that you're dealing with little pits that have been covered in polyresin. And so when you cut them, if you cut them clean, you're going to be able to take off sawdust. If you cut them with choppy motions, they could very easily pop out of the resin. You'll see that I'm also adding CA glue, cyanoacrylic glue, a couple of times during this. What we do is try to put the glue on there so that it reinforces all of those little seeds. And I cut out quite a bit there because it was kind of boring, and so now we're down to doing more of the close turning. You can see that this is shining. What that means is that I just finished putting CA on it, cyanoacrylic glue, and I'm now cutting it so that I can take off the material as needed, and at the same time I'm taking off the CA coating, and that's why it looks like it's shiny and then it looks like it's dull. With these pits, when you reach the halfway point of the pit, you now have it sitting in the resin, being held in by nothing more than the resin, because there's no outside diameter to hold in. So you do want to make sure that you are doing fairly frequent CA coatings, just so that you can keep the blank so that it's got all of its little pieces in place. I check it frequently. I put my finger across it frequently to see what it looks like, what it feels like, and if I've got any dips. Now we're getting ready to actually do the sanding of this particular piece. Okay, I'm now sanding it with 400 grit paper. As you sand it, you can kind of feel that the seeds are a little bit harder than the resin, and so you kind of rub your fingers back and forth across it and try to get it so that it's sanded fairly flat. You also notice that there are a couple of places where you're going to feel the seeds have fallen out, and therefore there's some low spots. I rub it with boiled linseed oil, BLO, to try to clean it up in the first place, and also because I know I'm going to go for a CA finish on this, cyanoacrylic glue finish, and so I know that the BLO will be something that will enhance the finish. The CA actually is accelerated by the BLO. So we're just trying to get a good clean spot here and take a look at it, make sure what problems we've got to deal with, and figure out how to solve them. I'm trying to get it dried off as much as possible, and that's the reason for running the lathe and putting the rag across it. This is actually a paper towel. It's not really a rag, so if it should get caught, I can let go of it and nothing is lost. You can see the little pits that are in there. Those are the spaces that I'm going to have to try to fill. So I'm kind of cleaning it up and at the same time assessing what I'm going to have to try to figure out how to fill here and what things are going to make this look like a nice blank. Well, I've decided I'm going to fill it with paint. The paint that comes in the little tester tubes like you used to use for model paints. Just found a really good red that matches the red of the resin, and so I'm taking a toothpick and putting on this red paint. Now I'll get that on and build it up fairly heavy so that it is actually proud of the blank, and then let it dry overnight, and then we come back the next day and it's turned to the other end of the lathe where I can give it a chance to find out that it's going to travel properly. I want it to travel nice and straight and not have any wobble in it, because this is kind of a critical cut. You want to come across there real easy a couple of times, and then after that you can start to feel like, okay, now I can take a little of the material at the same time and try to get it to look good. So I stop it fairly quickly here and look at it and find out what it looks like, and as you can see, it looks pretty good. They really did the paint did match quite well, and I'm going to put a CA coating on this. I'm going to assume that you all know how to do a CA coating because this video has gotten long enough. So we're just going to show you the basic starting points of this, and then go in and do a regular CA coat. And you'll see at the end that the pen that we made was really good looking. It's a real nice job. Again, we sand this down with a 400 grit, trying to get it to be uniform and to take off any spots that might be high from that acrylic paint yet. Now we're going to turn it off and actually show you what we've got here. It did turn out really nice. You can see that there's a good match with the color, and it was a really nice job. So that's all there is to making a cherry pit blank into a fine looking pen. We want to thank Eric Bucher, who makes these blanks for us. He's Buzz for, if you watch the IAP, International Association of Pen Turners. I'm now putting on a BLO boiled linseed oil, which is the first step moving into the CA coating. That's the cherry pit pen. And I'm Ed from Exotic Blanks, and once again we thank you for spending time with us, and I hope you've learned something from this video. Look for me again at Ed for Copies. Thank you much. Bye now.